I think that will help. Okay, so happy Easter, everyone. Happy Resurrection Sunday. Um, Many blessings to all of those of you who are celebrating. Many blessings to all of you who celebrate, who honor God, who are upright, those of you who are righteous, those of you who have integrity, those of you who are of good and decent moral character. I hope that you can hear me here. Okay. So I really did not want to do this live. I've just been trying to kind of enjoy my Easter Sunday. There's been so much going on, and I've been really obedient to God and just trying to ignore it and just focus on just living, breathing, moving forward. All right. But apparently I'm unable to do that today. So I'm going to use this Sunday, this Resurrection Sunday, which is also the anniversary of my salvation, me giving my life to Christ. It is the anniversary of me being saved by the Holy Ghost. So shout out to that, of me being saved by the Holy Ghost. So shout out to that. And honestly, this is just something I've just been avoiding altogether because it's been going on for a long time, over 20 years, since my daughter has been born. It isn't something that I want to talk about. It isn't something that I want to be, humanity. It's embarrassing for the United States. It's embarrassing. It's deplorable. It's disgusting. So, I've just been avoiding talking about this altogether, even as I'm about to, tell my story and give this, confession. I have authorities and police already here, like in the peripheral, threatening me. Tell my story and give this, confession. I have authorities and police already here, like in the peripheral, threatening me. It's been 20 years of threats, 20 years of trying to silence me from telling my story. A lot of you have already been seeing many people, go. First of all, I do want to say before I get too deep into this, make sure, after you watch this live, I'm going to post it on my YouTube platforms. Make sure that you are tagging all of the news outlets. So we definitely want NBC, we want ABC, we want World News Tonight, we want Piers Morgan's, we want CNN, we want your local television stations, we want every blogger, every hip hop blogger. We want everyone and anyone you can send this video to. Again, I will be posting clips, but I will also be posting the full live here on a YouTube platform so everyone can spread the word. So I do want to say that first off. Again, this is very, very hard for me. This is something that I have been avoiding talking about being a targeted individual. I'm actually probably the most famous known but unknown targeted individual. This interrupted my life about over 21 years ago. This happened with my daughter. She's 21 now, so my life got interrupted when she was a baby. But I am a victim of U.S. government-sponsored human trafficking, and my name was submitted by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. All right, and I'll go more into that later, but the first thing I'm going to do is just read a general statement, okay, here that will just help me get it all out. I don't know how long I'll be on this live because, again, I'm trying to enjoy my Easter Sunday, but my social medias are being hacked and attacked, and all this stuff is happening. And so I can only assume that, I'm being extra harassed today because people need energy. They want me to speak out. I feel like these people are thirsty for me to speak out. They're thirsty for me to kind of say their name, to put a name for it. They want me to be a victim. They want me to cry. I'm not going to do that. If possible, I'm not going to do that. But I just feel like, after 20 years of, lying on me, saying I committed and did all these things, which I did not, lying to the government, telling everyone that I'm a bad person, or, submitting my name to this government-sponsored human trafficking a system called Targeted Individuals to interrupt my life purpose, to intercept my destiny, to destiny swap, so to speak. And then 20 years later to find out that I'm totally innocent of everything, right? I feel like these people are getting scared. I feel like the walls are closing in, and I feel like everyone involved knows that the entire system is going to come crumbling down. We're in the middle of World War III, something I predicted years ago, and maybe nobody thought it would get to this, but because of the crimes against humanity that our government are doing against innocent Americans, this isn't just about me. I'm telling my story today, but there are thousands of people that are victims of crimes against humanity and crimes that are done, supposedly by their family and friends and, neighbors alike. Domestic terrorism. Our country is literally under attack, not only from foreign terrorism, but domestic terrorism against innocent people at home. All right. So I want to say again that my name is Jacquise Johnson. I am a victim of illegal covert government surveillance, a community harassment, stalking, revenge porn, trafficking, identity theft, hacking, mail fraud through tampering, attempted assassination, illegal and scientific medical testing and experimentation, and too many other crimes to name has been done on me, probably since birth, but definitely heavily for the last 20 years. I have been physically, mentally, and financially abused and psychologically terrorized for over 21 years. Myself and my two children, my daughter, whom I have with me, I don't know where my son is. I believe he was honestly murdered by them. My mother was murdered by these people. They've been attacking my grandmother, doing illegal testing on her. So every aspect of my life has been infiltrated because of this government-sponsored human trafficking and torture. Worse than the likes of the Tuskegee experiment done on Black people. So myself and my two children have been under surveillance since 2005. It is my understanding that several high-ranking figures in the music industry, government, politics, tech, basically celebrities, anyone in power who has the ability to have access to this program, okay, are behind this orchestration, utilizing their connections with powerful government figures and systems. It is my understanding that several high-ranking figures, not only in the music industry, but all the way up to the presidential seat, CIA, FBI, everyone, okay, are behind this orchestration, specifically placing me in this targeted individual program, utilizing their connections with powerful government figures and organizations to greenlight this operation against me. I am also to understand this that my specific targeting originated from a rap beef between 50 Cent and the Game when I was very, very young. A lot of this happened when the internet was just starting, MySpace, like very, very long time ago. And Curtis Jackson, also known as 50 Cent, is known to have connections, government ties, informants. And I was, just a fan doing what normal people do who support celebrities, and he appears to have fixated upon me and submitted my name into this program to be harassed. So he is the key person and key individual that started this harassment, that started the illegal surveillance. I know there are 20 years of illegal video surveillance of me, of my child, of my children. So that is child porn, that is child trafficking over the dark web. And again, that is how this started. Okay. I was utilized a pawn in this rap beef between 50 Cent and the Game, Jason Taylor. And again, there are lots of celebrities who use these systems to target people. My targeting started around the same time as Britney Spears was apprehended, and they took control over her. Okay. I was utilized as a pawn and my name submitted to this illegal government torture program. This program includes stalking, gang stalking. My phones have been tapped. The release of my private medical information, my whereabouts at any given moment all over the world to not only my traffickers, but people that I don't even know, including the World Wide Web. Every residence that I have lived in has been rigged with hidden cameras for surveillance. So there's over 21 years, going on 22 years of illegal surveillance footage of me every single day in and day out. My child, since she was born, so she is also a victim of child trafficking. I'm a victim of human and sex trafficking over the dark web by these celebrities who have access to this. So somewhere there's over 22 years of my entire life recorded and distributed to the public for consumption via the dark web or Discord. I am stalked and harassed by complete strangers everywhere I go for the past 20 years. This has affected me on every level, including my home life and employment. I'm unable to support myself as every job that I have or applied to was sabotaged through harassment and gang stalking at work by this silent community policing network. So, for example, I'm overqualified for a lot of the jobs that I've applied for. I originally from St. Louis, and I moved to California thinking that I was going to escape this, or thinking I was at least going to be able to have a cordial conversation to see what is the problem, why was I being targeted by this man, by his friends that has since gotten out of control and expanded to Jay-Z, Sean Carter, too many to name a few. I have a pinned tweet somewhere, and I will plug that in the bottom so you can see I've been documenting this harassment by these people for years. But I moved to California 5 years ago, and no matter what avenue I take, I haven't been able to obtain gainful employment through this program, because what they do is they lie about you, they hack your records, they lie to other people about you, and therefore every application that you send is intercepted, or somebody makes a phone call, and so you're not able to get employment or gain gainful employment under this program, because they want to trap and isolate you so they can continue to energy harvest from you, so they can continue to experiment on you, so they can continue to, try and drive you crazy, so they can continue to just so many ungodly things. I know that God is the only reason that I have survived all of this, and that probably makes a lot of people angry here, but I feel like people need to know about this. Everyone knows that this is happening, including my family, who I have denounced. I'm formally denouncing, because family isn't, family just because they're blood. They're people that, your family is people that are supposed to protect you. And my family stood by and cooperated with my abusers and traffickers to not only have my mother silenced knowing that she was being killed, but to steal my inheritance away from me. So they've committed fraud by stealing the inheritance that my mother left me. They lied and told the hospital that my mother wanted to be cremated so that they can cover up the crimes of murdering my mother, who wanted to speak out against what was happening to me. So I no longer have my family. They've been part of what was a ritualistic sacrifice, except I'm not dead, just like God. Okay. Again, my son is missing, believed to be dead. Because of this, they have targeted every aspect of my life. My son had a child, my grandchildren, who were confiscated through CPS. They have since been given guardianship to the family of my son's baby's mother, but I even believe that all of that was orchestrated so that I wouldn't be able to have access to my grandchildren. Okay. So everyone knows that this is happening, including my family, who I believe was bribed into silence. It especially concerns me because I have a young daughter who was, again, an infant when this started. She is about to be 22 now, so this is 22 years that my child has been trafficked over the dark web. And she has been illegally filmed and exposed to strangers. This is child pornography. Currently, every aspect of my life has been hacked, including my taxes through identity theft. This government funding is manipulated. My government funding is manipulated and stripped at any given moment by social workers in the system. So currently, this past March, there was a systematic and coordinated attack to extremely destabilize me by removing any and all forms, of assistance. The social workers that were in place to make sure I was cared for lied and manipulated and committed fraud, all of which I have receipts of. And it was like very systematic and coordinated, 3 major things at once, in addition to my car being attacked and my car being sabotaged. And I believe this is because one of my abusers became enraged with jealousy because I started dating a person who was technically sent to me as a honeypot, who was supposed to be a handler, which is the sadistic part of this program, is that these people become fixated on you under some form of, I can only describe as demonic, sociopathic possession. I really fear for all women in our country. I fear for all children in our country. And I really have no idea what the gang stalkers are are gaining from this. It should be a sounded alarm to everyone that if they can do this to an innocent person, then you're not too far behind. And there are people from all walks of life that this is happening to. And I believe what we're about to experience in the United States, as far as collect karmic debt that will be executed by other countries against us, is God's way of cleaning up this system and freeing many women, children, young boys who have been a victim of trafficking in all forms. My phone, my login history I've had several phones that were hacked because I was trying to collect evidence. I am stalked and harassed heavily in my community, heavily in my residence by neighbors, leasing management, maintenance men who refuse to do anything about the issue. I'm stalked by Irvine Police Department, various police departments. People, do all manners of attack. Mostly men have attacked me. I am blocked from filing any police reports. Every time I go to the police station, I am blocked from filing any police reports. Men have attacked me. I am blocked from filing any police reports. Every time I go to the police station, I am blocked from filing any police reports. They assigned a grown man to stalk my daughter in 2024. They assigned a grown man to stalk my daughter in 2024. And he was stalking her at work and then began to stalk her at home, at our home. This went on for a year. We must have made over 30 to 50 calls to the police to report this grown man coming to our residence, to my residence, trying to gain access to my daughter. And the police would not help. They would not assist in any way. They took us through the court system saying we needed a restraining order. And I'm not even sure to this extent if, the court, the trial dates or anything that I set up for, I don't even know if any of that was real because there's so much stage theater. And, I feel like many Americans are knowing by now that a lot of what they see, especially on social media, a lot of what they see and encounter is psyops or constructed. So I went to the courts to try and get restraining orders and justice for my daughter, but these people could have been fake, for all I know. But I just know that they have not helped me, and that in turn, because I said that I would report them for not helping me with this grown man who was stalking my child, I was arrested on Mother's Day weekend last year. So I was arrested before the grown man who was stalking my child was arrested. All right. And I'm still fighting that today because they're trying to put a felony on my record. And I'm refusing to back down in that, in the hopes that, again, this entire thing gets exposed and shut down. Because it's one thing for people to feel like, oh, it's okay because that person is black, or that person is, somebody that they feel like doesn't deserve freedom or doesn't deserve to be protected. But when you actively, harm, and these people aren't, it's more than just stalking, they're poisoning people's food, they're rigging vehicles so people can die in accidents, they're filming children, they're breaking into our homes, they're experimenting on us for, I don't know what purposes, but if they can do this to one person, then there are no boundaries to know that you will be the next person that this happens to. All right. So again, I am stalked and harassed heavily in my residence by neighbors, leasing management who refuse to do anything about this. My home is illegally entered at will by workers, and my belongings are also stolen at leisure. In 2017, I was involved in a car accident while on my job for Panera Bread, making deliveries. I was parked in front of a residence in an upscale, quiet neighborhood with little to no traffic, and I was hit at full speed from behind, the vehicle then jumping the pavement and hitting a house. So in 2017, there was an active assassination attempt on my life. They literally tried to kill me. All right. This was by a Chrysler 300, and how I tie in my specific targeting to this rap beef between 50 Cent and the game, and how I was used as a pawn is that year the game was promoting the Chrysler 300. There was a car show in St. Louis, Missouri that featured 50 Cent and the game's car side by side. This Chrysler 300 was driven by a gang stalker and driven into me at full speed. They tried to kill me. Thank God I survived. Panera Bread, which used to be St. Louis Bread Company at the time, did not follow protocol in this incident and demanded I return to work the next day. I retained a lawyer, Goldblatt and Singer from St. Louis, Missouri, to pursue action against the what I now know is gang stalker. When this happened, I was, when this started happening in 2017, I knew that something fucked up was going on, but I didn't have the information that I have now. So I retained a lawyer in 2017, Goldblatt and Singer in St. Louis, Missouri, to pursue action against the driver and Panera Company. While in medical rehabilitation barely a week, I was forced to return to work and heavily harassed and discriminated against by management until they fired me 9 days after this assassination attempt on my life and the accident. My lawyers were soon compromised by this targeted individual program, this government attempt on my life and the accident. My lawyers were soon compromised by this targeted individual program, this government-sponsored human trafficking program, and began to purposely sabotage my case through poor legal advice and not fully pursuing my case to its fullest extent. I then moved to California with my daughter to flee the harassment, only for the same thing to happen here, but intensified. And it was weird because, at the time when I was moving, my father was like, you shouldn't leave here. And I couldn't understand why. But, basically moving to California is like moving next door to, it's like I moved next door to, my abuser. But, in my mind, I really felt like, I was like, oh, I could talk to, I can talk, we can have a conversation, we could figure out what this is really about and why these people are trying to destroy my life, why they are trying to, oppress me and suppress me so they can basically steal all of my divine gifts, steal my ideas, and use it to profit for themselves while they limit my visibility, destiny swap, assume my personality, Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion, and go on basically to slide on my skin and my essence so they can profit while I am being tortured behind the scenes. I then moved to California with my daughter to flee harassment, only for the same thing to happen here, but only worse. My lawyers received an offer just before COVID hit and then began to pressure me to settle my work comp case for 1 cent and use my entire third-party settlement of $25,000 to pay medical and lawyers' fees, leaving me with a total compensation of $9,000. This is after someone tried to kill me and hit me with the car. They hit me with the car while I was working and delivering food for St. Louis Bread Company, Panera. All right. So they were basically settling my case for pennies and trying to get me to accept a final payment of $9,000. for damn near a vehicular homicide. I refused, and then my lawyers at Goldblatt and Singer began to threaten me to sign paperwork and stated they would hold my money until I signed the paperwork. Mind you, I have been in California for 1 year and unable to retain employment because of this government-sponsored U.S. human trafficking. Not even the pandemic would have my lawyers at Goldblatt and Singer properly represent my case or release my funds. They then ignored my calls and questions for 2 years, my lawyers, during the pandemic until July of 2022, when the statute of limitations for the case where they tried to kill me approached. I have all of this evidence recorded, and they hacked my phone to destroy the evidence that I had against my lawyers, purposely sabotaging my case. I was eventually awarded $25,000, but I believed that the amount was more and it was stolen, and that my lawyers were paid to not properly represent me, because if somebody hits you while you're parked in a residential neighborhood, which would never happen on any green earth in Creve Coeur, St. Louis, then you should probably be getting millions of dollars from the insurance company. So I really don't know how much I was truly awarded. It could have been anything, and the rest was probably most likely stolen from me. I contacted the work comp office to see why there was no settlement against Panera St. Louis Bread Company. I actually spoke with the work comp judge, who personally told me that I did not have a case against St. Louis Bread Company, even though I was hit by a car while delivering food for them. And this judge, the work comp judge for the state of Missouri, told me that I needed to settle. When I refused, the lawyers dropped me, and the judge dismissed the case with prejudice, so I could never try this case in court again. The statute of this case was fast approaching, and this entity has seized every avenue of revenue, and they were trying to force me to sign this settlement for pennies. When I tried to report my lawyers, they literally cut off the phone at the Justice Department, where you go and report, like, if your lawyer is not representing you, if they're or they're committing fraud. They literally cut the line to the phone, so I was not able to go through. My taxes have been halted. My YouTube platform, social media platforms, which has been my only means of supporting myself and revenue, are currently being sabotaged. So I have little to limited forms of income. My vehicle has been tampered with, and all of this to force me to sign this agreement, which I never did. I recently went to the FBI for help and was hung up on mid-call. And then I was escorted from the building and the property. I have contacted police and every authority figure to no avail to report for this crime. And I am also harassed in turn by the police when I try to report these crimes. So a lot of people with these targeted individuals, I see a lot of people, and I feel bad for them. This has been happening to me for 22 years. I feel really bad because a lot of these are young mothers, young Black mothers. They're scared. They don't know what to do. They don't understand. And you call the police to help, and they're part of it. So right now in my community in California, I'm being heavily harassed by the police and the justice system. They are trying to put me behind bars. They're trying to attach a felony to me, all of these on fake and bogus charges. I've sought help from law enforcement, my local FBI chapter. No one will help me. I know this operation was greenlit globally, and I've been harassed by law enforcement. You only have to pull the records to see the patterns and see what was done to me. I'm encouraged now because of the climate of women speaking out about, women and men speaking out about this illegal program. And so I'm asking all of you to please come together and help me and help destroy this system. If you know neighbors that are gang stalkers, if you know people that are actively in this program, help them, give them a place of safety. If you have a platform or a blog, give them space to tell their stories so they don't feel alone. Okay. Targeted individuals are being subjected to the worst kind of suffering imaginable with V2K voice to skull technology. Criminal groups of biohackers broadcast their human voices into the heads of the targets, and they are forced to listen to every word 24/7, with lies, accusations, assaults, abuse, and all of this in an effort to get the targeted person to kill themselves. And thank God I have not, and I will not do that. I have no desire to harm myself. I have no desire to kill myself. I am perfectly, soundly sane, and very thankful that I am able to coherently tell you and give you a testimony about what's been happening to me while in the park, actively surrounded by gang stalkers. Ultimately, they want to destroy your life personally and professionally. This is a well-known military method of abuse known as hazing, and they try to deconstruct your thoughts and break you. Okay. There's so much more. Again, this has been happening to me for over 22 years. I want to tell my story. I want to speak out, to bring notice so this entire operation can be destroyed and people can be freed from torture. There are women and children and even pets and men were being tortured for no reason. And people think that it's okay because they say, well, I'm on the other side, I'm a gang stalker. And no, all you've done is give a signal to the morally corrupt that you are also morally corrupt. And so as you can see, the things that are happening now within the United States that I predicted over 3 years ago, and how they are basically shutting down and squeezing the system to be able to, limit all these Americans who feel like they are safe, from basically moving about the cabin, and they're limiting your civil rights and your right to speak and do anything. A lot of people are seeing that with ICE, and when they're trying to speak out on social media. Edward Snowden was one of the first people to raise a red flag about what was being done with this illegal surveillance, the FISA Bill Act, that was supposed to be for actual foreign domestic terrorists. And somebody got the great idea to use this against innocent civilians, innocent Americans, innocent women. And so we're basically, collected, I guess, like trophies, girls from birth being trafficked and targeted until basically, they have no option to be used by a system that wants to exploit them. There's so much that I don't know. There are other people that know more, but it's just my time to tell my story. A lot of this is written public statements that I have given. I was in college And the statement that I wrote, I actually submitted to a professor. I submitted this statement to 2 professors this past year at college. Number 1, to see what they were going to do, but number 2, because it's on record, and as a professor, as a teacher, they are obligated to say and do something, and no one did anything. Not only did no one do anything, but again, they delayed my funding for school to make sure I got next to nothing. I was gang stalked and harassed by professors and students at the college that I was attending, trying to get an education. All of these people knew what was happening. I was turning in papers telling my story just for these professors to be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So I would encourage you all to listen to people who are speaking out. They are not crazy. They are not delusional. They need help. They are being essentially, jumped by hundreds of people at one time, right? And like I said, I've been in this so long. This has been happening for so long. I am probably the most famous, unfamous, known, unknown targeted individual, because my targeted started by way of a celebrity beef between 50 Cent and the game. Okay. And then extended once word spread around the music industry. I began to be targeted by Jay-Z, by Beyonce, by Kanye, by Kim Kardashian. This is a record. I have proof. I have receipts. Just recently, you can see on my Instagram profile, I put a video up about how I'm being targeted and harassed by Elon Musk, very popular people, all the way up to the President of the United States. I have documented proof, videos of this. I have no reason to lie, because I don't care. And I feel like that's the reason why I keep getting harassed and targeted, is because I don't care. And they want me to crash out. They want me to cry. I cried the first year of my harassment. I cried the first 2 years when I had family targeting me and doing weird shit. And I've already cried. There's nothing to fucking cry about anymore. I'm a child of the Most High God. The only thing that this signals to me is the destruction of the United States, the world as large. God said that he would come back, and when he come back, he would destroy it by fire. That is the only thing that this signals to me. Because you can't even call them humanity. You can't even call them humans anymore. Right? There's nothing here to save. And if you look on my profile, I put a video up of the Easter message and how, the guy was petitioning for the people to be saved. And he was like, if I could find anybody, if I could find one person, will we be spared? And I can tell you, out of 22 years, I would have the same report. So unfortunately, a lot of the things that you're going to see happening by way of this war, it's not just a world war, it's a spiritual war. Why do you think Iran is saying the things that they're saying, and Russia? Putin has been trying to tell the American people that they're being trafficked, that they're being experimented on, that they're being violated in the most horrific, deplorable ways. All right. So yeah, I'll do a story time maybe, but I kept saying, sitting on whether I would make this testimony today. And I wasn't. I didn't even make it to church today, which is unlike me on Easter, because I'm a very holy, very spiritual person, and I just didn't have it in me. I just didn't have it in me. At some points when you go through something so horrific, going through torture, like literal torture, sleep deprivation, your neighbors using, government orchestrated weapons to destroy you, to attack your health. We're not even talking about, the witchcraft that is done by celebrities and these other people who don't even know you, but feel like, they want to destroy you so they can assume your likeness and profit off of it, And so when this Easter came around, I was just like, I just don't have it. I don't have another. I'm just all out of prayers. And maybe that's why God stepped in and says, no, you're going to give your testimony on this Sunday. That's why I saved your life. That's why you are filled with the Holy Ghost and the Holy Spirit, because you have to tell people. And, unfortunately, a lot of times when you're not losing your mind and you're not crashing out like people want you to, they feel like, well, oh, they're not going any, she's not going through anything because she's not crashing out, or, well, she must be fine because she's able to do this and that. And I feel like that is my, that is just my saving grace. I feel like my, this targeting, and because I wasn't allowed to have a job, it opened up my spiritual gifts, which I always knew that I had spiritual gifts, but not to the extent that I know now. I do use my spiritual gifts to help people, to help awaken people in any way that I can. So I know that that is part of the reason that, I was targeted in this program. I know the GATE program is going viral. Especially it started in St. Louis, Missouri, which is where I'm from. I am a child of the GATE program. Okay. And I was thinking about it the other night, and I'm like, I've probably been tracked and monitored since I was a child. They've probably been experimenting. My mother dying was not a coincidence, but these things are happening to people who, I guess whatever is in their birth chart, they have the ability, or their job is to deliver souls, help save humanity. These are the very people that are being targeted. You see a lot of people that are speaking out are special, right? I was saying the other night, I was thinking about when I was, a child, maybe 4 or 5 years old, sitting on the steps at my grandfather's church, and how a predator came and assaulted me at church, in the church. I think about predators and men who abuse women, who somehow found me over the years. And I now think, I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think abuse is a coincidence. I don't think, and this is something I would tell everyone to consider. You can say, well, people in my family, my father did this to me, or my brother, or, I was violated. I am now being led to believe, just because of what I have witnessed being done by the United States government, I don't think any of that is a coincidence. Now that I have seen what people are willing, to do for money, for anything, I don't believe any of it's a coincidence. So if you were traumatized, you were hurt, you were violated as a child, you were violated as a teenager, or, something, nothing is a coincidence. If you know that, whether you know that you were gifted or not, but especially if you were gifted and you were violated, that is not a coincidence. It was done to destabilize you so you don't fully recognize your true purpose, right? I thought I wanted to be like this, iconic, female rapper or whatever, and music. And I'm still very talented in that, and that's how I got introduced to the industry. And that's how I became a target of Curtis Jackson, Marshall Mathers, and that whole story. That's a whole nother story that I'll get into another day, but it's factual. Again, I don't have a reason to lie, because I don't give a fuck. I'm from St. Louis. Like, this shit is whack. It's whack. Everybody who's a part of it is whack. It's demonic. Okay, I was raised in the Holiness Church. I come from a long line of Pentecostal preachers. Like, everything about the target individual system, you know, it's just like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, this is what you're doing with your power. This is what you're doing to people, you know? So it's nothing to brag about. And that's why, you know, you don't see me all over the internet crashing out and crying and going crazy about, oh my God, they're doing this, they're doing that, you know, when they've literally been trying to destroy me in every way they can, especially this last month, even as I speak. And so I guess the point now is like, I really have nothing left to lose, because they keep doing stuff. They keep, you know, I woke up today to one of my ex accounts being suspended by Elon Musk, who is one of my targeters and stalkers. These people use their power, sort of like Epstein and Harvey Weinstein. You have these people for all these years who have been targeting people and using their power to harass women. Well, no more. I'm speaking out. I have nothing. I try to be unbothered, and I'm not able to do that. So the only thing that I can assume is that they need me to speak out so they can be stopped. The only way to stop these people is to speak out against them, to shame them. And again, like I said, my family, my own family has been a part of this. My grandmother, they have children that are they're corrupting children to stalk and harass innocent people. That is an abomination. That is deplorable. And then there are families who will allow their children, you know, they get paid off of their children stalking and harassing innocent people. It's deplorable. It's corruption. We're literally under domestic terrorism that has been orchestrated by people you go and vote for. People that you vote for to have rule over you. And this is what they are doing. Since you have essentially given them your vote and authority to rule over you, which is what you do when you're voting, then they say, oh, you don't even know how to govern yourself. They're giving away all of their power and telling me to rule over them. So we're going to decide that this person and that person isn't worthy of protection. We're going to decide that this whole sector of people should be experimented on. We're going to decide that if a young girl or a baby comes from this or that place, then they are primed for targeting, or they are primed for ritualistic sacrifice. That's what this is. So until you guys get like these other countries, Paris, and you see them in the streets in China and all these other places they're overthrowing, well, I don't know. You probably run out of time, actually, because God has stepped in. I don't, you know, I feel like God has stepped in now, because there's nothing here worth saving or worthy of saving, right? So it's kind of like that character, what do they say, Anubis, who kind of weighs the scale and judges people, like right before they die, that judges the heart. It says God weighs the heart. And I feel that this is a time when God has weighed the heart and has found humanity once again guilty of treason. Our government is guilty of treason. Everyone, all of these people are guilty of treason, crime against humanity. And because of that, when the world folds in and everything folds in on itself, that is why. So the only advice that I can give you is, if you're not a part of this program, you know, to do what you can to protect yourself, to protect your family, especially the women and the girls and the children and the young, vulnerable, beautiful, special boys in the system. And if you know anybody who is participating in gang stalking, to call them out, to ostracize them. Don't give them a place to hide. Shame them. which is what I do. I shame them because it is a shameful act. And so when I say, do not be surprised when you look around and witness the destruction of the world around you, it is for this reason. Because God has deemed that there is nothing or no one here to save. All right. So this is my, I guess, story time 1 or day 1 or whatever. It needed to be done. I didn't want it to be done. Like I said, I don't want to talk about it. I don't like talking about it. It's embarrassing. It's so fucking embarrassing. All of this thing, it's so fucking embarrassing. Like, if I could have chosen not to, like, reincarnate on Earth, that's what I'm using my time for, trying to study the laws of something to figure out how to get off this fuck ass planet and reincarnate somewhere else or another timeline or something, because it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And you know, a lot of you guys are finding out, you know, about the Epstein files and the ritualistic sacrifice of children and the pedophile. Like, we are in trouble. So no, I'm not gonna twerk with you or do any of this dumb stuff that is a distraction. You guys need to get to digging and uncovering and pulling back the roof on all of these heinous crimes against humanity. Your own survival, your children's survival, the future, your legacy, your bloodline, all depends on you guys speaking up and exposing and denouncing these practices and eliminating these people, especially pedophiles. All pedophiles must die. All people who exploit and traffic women must die. Period. They will. Thank you for listening to me. Once again, my name is Spiritual Prophet 1, and I ask that you share this video everywhere you can, and also submit it to news organizations, NBC, ABC, CNN, World News Tonight, any Fox News, whoever, any that I have forgotten to mention, to get my story out, because I am ready to speak about this. And I will plug in the comments when I upload highlights of this. I have a private YouTube channel, well, it's public now, where I have documented some of the harassment and torture I have experienced as a targeted individual for the past 22 years. I want to take this moment to give glory to God for loving me, for choosing me. This is not a cross that I would have chosen to bear, but I'm bearing it. I'm carrying it. I ain't gonna lie and say I don't have beef with God, because I do. I do. But I'm still here. I'm here another day, and so the only thing I can do is just trust in God's plan and hold my post. I'm a soldier in the army of the Lord, and if this is my assignment, then it is what it is. I'm not going to argue about it. All right? I'm praying for peace and protection of all targeted individuals all around the world, all victims of human and sex trafficking all over the world, all victims of exploitation and human psychological and physical torture all over the world. I pray everyone, the sick program, get exposed, and everyone that took part of it and every level and profited off of it, be exposed and pay for their crimes. Because ultimately, you are a domestic terrorist. To terrorize an innocent person, you are a domestic terrorist, and you don't belong on this earth. So I would petition for them to be put into the same category as those who violate children, violate and exploit women. You gang stalkers, I'm not letting up all for you. To every last one of you, no matter who you are, even children, you will all be held accountable for what you have done. Because that is what's necessary. That is why God flooded the earth the first time. Because it was deplorable, it was despicable, and it was disgusting. So he cleared it out. And that is what we will witness happening now. When you have parents that will use their literal children and sell their children to commit crimes against humanity, no, we don't need you here. You don't need to populate the earth. So there will be a great weeping and gnashing and a full sweep. I don't want you to be surprised when it happens. I just want you to be ready. I hope on this Easter Sunday you've prayed to God, that you've made a commitment to get your soul right, because it is that serious. Your life depends on it, and the life of those that you love and hold dearest depend on it. Amen. Bye.